It's your crazy granny, been up all night again. If I take my knockout meds, I would knock out. There's a lot on my mind. A lot on my little squirrel brain. Making sure the volume was turned up. Now I'm still waiting on Amazon. Amazon. My Kindle Fire to Fire. I know I should do this ahead of time. Linda Jean said she didn't mind a little chat beforehand. Love you, Linda Jean. You're just a special lady. Special sweetie. And I miss my little Katarina. These are marked for kids, so it's okay for me to talk about Katarina. Once I start doing Pride and Prejudice, I guess I have to just leave it for adults. She's precious, precious, precious. Loved hearing about her stories and being her granny sweet. So, hey, Katarina, love you. Love you, love you, love you. Keeps catching up with me. I think we're almost finished. How many times have I said that? And we are going to go to Pride and Prejudice next. And I've been listening to it on audiobook. I think I mentioned that before too. Y'all gonna like it. I think I'm enjoying it. Come on. You can do it. Get the white light. There we go. Chapter 13. Nat's New Year. Come on, bookmark. How come sometimes I just have the perfect touch? Out went away. Here it comes back. Here it comes back. Okay. Chapter 13, Nat's New Year. I expect to hear from Emil yet, and Nat writes regularly, but where is Dan? Only 2 or 3 postals since he went. Such an energetic fellow as he. Sorry, this is going to make a terrible noise. I'm freezing. Then it'll quit. Especially if I smack it around enough. It'll quit on its own in a minute. I'll just sit here and wait on it. We do have sun at least today, or partly sunny. Thank God. And I wish I could send this to Australia. Parts that need it. There we go. Did you hear it go into the next gear? Expect to hear, but let's see. Only 2 or 3 postals since he went. Such an energetic fellow as he could buy up all the farms in Kansas by this time, said Mrs. Joe one morning when the mail came in and no card or envelope bore Dan's dashing hand. He never writes often, you know, but he does his work and then comes home months and years and seems to mean little to him, and he's probably prospecting in the wilderness, forgetful of time, answered Mrs. Baird, deep in one of Nat's long letters from Leipzig. I guess I'm saying that right. But he promised he would let me know how he got on, and Dan keeps his word if he can. I'm afraid something has happened to him." And Mrs. Joe comforted him by patting Don's head as he came at the sound of his master's name to look at her with eyes almost human in their wistful intelligence. "Don't worry, Mum dear, nothing ever happens to the old fella. He'll turn up all right, and come stalking in some day with a gold mine in one pocket and a prairie in the other, as jolly as a grig," said Ted, who was in no haste to deliver aught to the rightful owner. "Perhaps he's gone to Montana and given up the farm plan. He seemed to like Indians best, I thought." And Rob went to help his mother with her pile of letters and his cheerful suggestions. "I hope so. It would suit him best, but I'm sure he would have told us of his change of plan, and sent for some money to work with. No, I feel in my prophetic bones that something is wrong," said Mrs. Joe, looking as solemn as fate in a breakfast cap. "Then we shall hear. Ill news always travels fast. Don't borrow trouble, Joe, but hear how Nat is getting on. I'd no idea the boy would care for anything but music. My good friend Bumgarton has launched him well, and it will do him good if he will not lose his head. A good lad, but new to the world, and Leipzig is full of snares for the unwary. Gotta be with him." The professor read Nat's enthusiastic account of certain literary and musical parties he had been to, the splendors of the opera, the kindness of his new friends, the delight of studying under such a master as Bergman, his hopes of rapid gain, and his great gratitude to those who had opened this enchanted world to him. "That, now, is satisfactory and comfortable. I felt that Nat had unsuspected power in him before he went away. He was so manly and full of excellent plans," said Mrs. Joe in a satisfied tone. "We shall see. He will doubtless get his lessons and be the better for it. That comes to us all in our young days. I hope it will not be too hard for our good youngling," answered the professor with a wise smile, remembering his own student life in Germany. He was right, and Nat was already getting his lesson in life with a rapidity which would have astonished his friends at home. The manliness over which Mrs. Joy rejoiced was developing in unexpected ways, and quiet Nan had plunged into the more harmless dissipations of the gay city with all the ardor of an inexperienced youth taking his first sip of pleasure. The entire freedom and sense of independence was delicious, for many benefits began to burden him, and he longed to stand on his own legs and make his own way. No one knew his past here, and with a well-stocked wardrobe, a handsome sum at his banker's, and the best teacher in Leipzig, he made his debut as a musical young gentleman, presented by the much respected Professor Bear and the wealthy Mr. Lawrence, who had many friends glad to throw open their houses to his protege. Thanks to these introductions, his fluent German, modest manners, and undeniable talent, the stranger was daily welcomed and launched at once into a circle which many an ambitious young man strove in vain to enter. All this rather turned Nat's head as he sat in the brilliant opera house, chatted among the ladies at some select coffee party, or whisked an eminent professor's amiable daughter down the room. Trying to imagine she was Daisy, he often asked himself if this gay fella could be the poor homeless little street musician who once stood waiting in the rain at the gates of Plumfield. His heart was true, his impulses good, and his ambitions high. But the weak side of his nature came uppermost here. Vanity led him astray, pleasure intoxicated him, and for a time he forgot everything but the delights of this new and charming life. Without meaning to deceive, he allowed people to imagine him a youth of good family and prospects. He boasted a little of Mr. Lowry's wealth and influence, of Professor Bear's eminence in the flourishing college at which he himself had been educated. Mrs. Joe was introduced to the Sentinel Frauleins, gosh, who read her books, and the charms and virtues of her own dear Madchen confided to sympathetic mammas. All these boyish boastings and innocent vanities were duly circulated among the gossips, and his importance much increased thereby, to his surprise and gratification, as well as some shame. They both bore fruit that was bitter in the end, for finding that he was considered one of the upper class, it very soon became impossible for him to live in the humble quarters he had chosen, or to lead the studious, quiet life planned for him. He met other students, humble quarters he had chosen, or to lead the studious, quiet life planned for him. He met other students, young officers, and gay fellows of all sorts, and was flattered at being welcomed among them, though it was a costly pleasure, and often left a thorn of regret to vex his honest conscience. He was tempted to take better rooms in a more fashionable street, leaving good Frau Tetzel to lament his loss, and his artist neighbor, Fraulein Vogelstein, to shake her gray ringlets and predict his return, a sadder and wiser man. The sum placed at his disposal for expenses and such simple pleasures as his busy life could command, seemed a fortune to Nat, though it was smaller than generous Mr. Lowry first proposed. Professor Bear wisely counseled prudence, as Nat was unused to the care of money, and as the good man knew the temptations that a well-filled purse makes possible at this pleasure-loving age. So Nat enjoyed his handsome little apartment immensely, and immensely let many unaccustomed luxuries creep in. He loved his music and never missed a lesson, but the hours he should have spent in particular practice were too often wasted at a theater, ball, beer garden, or club, doing no harm beyond that waste of precious time, and leaving precious time. We're going to get word. Precious time and money not his own, for he had no vices and took his recreation like a gentleman so far. But slowly a change for the worse was beginning to show itself, and he felt that these first steps along the flowery road were downward, not upward, and the constant sense of disloyalty which soon began to haunt him made Nat feel in the few quiet hours he gave himself that all was not well with him, spite of the happy world in which he lived. Another month, and then I'll be steady, he said more than once, trying to trying to excuse the delay by the fact that all was new to him, that his friends at home wished him to be happy, and that society was giving him the polish he needed. But as each month slipped away, it grew harder to escape. He was inevitably drawn on, and it was easy to draft with the tide that he deferred the evil day as long as possible. Winter festivities followed the more wholesome summer pleasures, and Nat found them more costly, for the hospice ladies expected more return from the stranger in the carriages, bouquets, share tickets, theater tickets, and all the little expenses a young man cannot escape at such times. Told heavily on the purse, which seemed bottomless at first. Taking Mr. Lorry for his model, Nat became quite gallant, and was universally liked, for through all the newly acquired airs and graces, the genuine honesty and simplicity of his character plainly shone, winning confidence and affection from all who knew him. Among these was a certain amiable old lady with a musical daughter, well born but poor, and very anxious to marry the aforesaid daughter to some wealthy man. Nat's little fictions concerning his prospects and friends charmed the Nattage Frau as much as his music and devoted manners did the sentimental Mina. Their quiet parlor seemed homelike and restful to Nat, when tired of gayer scenes, and the motherly interest of the elder lady was sweet and comfortable to him, while the tender blue eyes of the pretty girl were always so full and welcome when he came, of regret when he left, and of admiration when he played to her, that he found it impossible to keep away from his attractive spot. He meant no harm and feared no danger, having confided to the Frau Mama that he was betrothed. So he continued to call, little dreaming what ambitious hopes the old lady cherished, nor the peril there was in receiving the adoration of a romantic German girl till it was too late to spare her pain and himself great regret. Of course, some inkling of these new and agreeable experiences got into the voluminous letters. He never was too gay, too busy, or too tired to write each week. And Daisy, Daisy. Y'all, I'm gonna have to stop there. Get like a sleep's catching up with me. Sorry, I read terrible today. I'll get some sleep tonight. Love y'all. Like I said, don't give up on Granny. We're gonna get it together. I hope and pray. I got purties to show y'all if you come to live. Woo! These were on sale at Michael's. They had been $7.99. Got two of the same thing. They're the white elephant mandala tweed stripes. Came from Michael's, if I didn't already say that. 426 yards, 390 meters, 100% acrylic. I already said it was white elephant. But they had been $7.99 a piece, and I got them for $3.99. Two at $3.99. And then she also let me use a 20% off coupon. So I got two of them, and I didn't get anything else except the little tear-off pattern that goes with it. for freebies. And it was 8 with tax, $8.54 for the 2. That's not bad. 426 yards. Been looking at it forever. They've got all, I think, oh, if they don't have all the colorways at Michael's, they've got a bunch of them. I've been looking at this stuff forever, so I'm glad I put it off. Needed a little retail therapy. Do not need more yarn, but at least I don't have that. I'll show it again at live today. Live at 3. I hope I have somebody. Mwah. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. And before long, this book will end. And we'll be able to comment again because I will not set it for children. This right now is. But Pride and Prejudice will be for us grown-ups. Not that these aren't, but you know what I mean. Okay. Talk to you later. Love ya. Bye-bye.